Hey guys, how's it going? It's the Crypto Analyst here, and welcome back to another Bitcoin technical analysis. I hope all of you guys are having a good morning, evening, wherever you guys are from, and welcome back to another cryptocurrency video. Now, we could be in the midst of a huge bear trap here on the price action of Bitcoin, and the reason that I'm saying that is because while Bitcoin did just see rejection from the 200 EMA on the one-day chart and the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart, a lot of this negative and bearish momentum seems to be drying up and disappearing ever so slowly on Bitcoin, and that's what I want to talk about in today's video. Talk about why I believe this bearish momentum is slowly fading away and how the bulls could be coming in very soon on Bitcoin, despite the recent rejections from the recent swing top. So if you guys are interested, go and stick around for the video, and do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot. With that being said, guys, let's go ahead and dive on into this and explain why I believe Bitcoin could be surprisingly bullish despite having another lower swing high in what seems to be a break towards the downside. So with Bitcoin actually seeing the rejection from the swing top over here, one of the things that I want to go ahead and talk about from the first place is these two rejection points on Bitcoin, so that we are aware why it rejected here and just kind of make sense of it before we talk about why this is a bullish situation, in my opinion, or at least has definitely the potential to be a bullish situation. So this is on the 4-hour chart right now, guys, and if we go over and we look, we see a very clear rejection from the upper part of this channel coming right down to the 200 EMA on this 4-hour time scale. So pretty clear rejection here, came up with a wick, got up there. It was great while it was up there, but definitely got shot down pretty fast and was only a wick. The fact that it was not able to get a candle body closing over this 200 EMA kind of goes consistent to the fact that what we are talking about is just this area being an extremely difficult form of resistance. I mean, it didn't even hit the top levels of either of these trend lines. I mean, you have two different trend lines in here. Both are very significant, and Bitcoin didn't even have to hit those to see a nice little rejection. It just had to hit the 200 EMA. So we are going to know going forward, this is going to be a pretty difficult form of resistance. Anywhere in between this area of I would say probably 8.8K all the way up to around 9.2, 9.3K. It's going to be a pretty difficult zone to break, but if Bitcoin can break it, definitely the upside potential is huge, because it will most likely start seeing 11K. Anyway, honestly, anywhere between $11,000 and $12,500 would be my immediate price targets for Bitcoin if it's able to break this. So that is the first rejection on the 4-hour time scale, and the second rejection is actually going to be almost just as clear, if not more clear. We have the 200 EMA right over in here. We have this impending death cross, which is making a lot of people very bearish. And then you also have just, of course, the rejection itself forming. We see the first candle, the second candle, and the third candle actually piercing through, which was to touch the 200 EMA on the 4-hour time scale. And of course, that got chopped back down, and now Bitcoin has fallen all the way from around 8.8K all the way down to what is currently about 8.1K. So a nice little rejection for sure. This really depends on where you are. Some people see this as a buy the dip opportunity. Some people see this as a short the rip opportunity. It really kind of all depends on the perspective upon which you look at this. And today I wanted to talk about why I'm still, despite this death cross, obviously this is a very bearish thing to see on Bitcoin. And I want to acknowledge that, but also kind of give a counter argument as to why I think a lot of this negative momentum is fading off, especially on these larger time scales. So let's go back to this MACD on the 4-hour chart, and then the RSI and everything, and we're actually going to move ourselves from the 4-hour time scale all the way up to the 1-week time scale and see just how much more increasingly bullish this gets as we go up. So over here, we definitely can see that this negative momentum on the downside is drying up. It looks like we're going to be painting a lower swing high on this MACD. Now, if it's going to end right here, we're not entirely sure. Obviously this hasn't rounded yet, but I would imagine that this looks like it's starting to dry up for the most part, unless something significant happens. This definitely will be setting up a lower swing high on the MACD's 4-hour time scale. Over here on the RSI, it is getting ready to start approaching this higher swing low opportunity. Now, what I mean by that is if we look over here, nice little trend line. Now, not to say that, again, the RSI can't be used as if it's a candle chart, but if you're having consecutively higher swing lows, that means that there are lower levels of negative momentum upon each attempt to the downside from the bears, which essentially the inverse of that is saying that the bulls are getting stronger while the bears are getting weaker. So I am looking at this from the 4-hour time scale. If this starts rounding off soon, I believe it's going to be really a potentially very bullish thing on Bitcoin. We already had the lower swing high. Now we have the higher swing low. So just keeping an eye on this, and this will become kind of a reoccurring theme. Moving over to the one-day chart, we already saw this guy bottom out and place in, and I'm sorry, there's a lot of drawing over here from the 4-hour time scale, so ignore a lot of this, but just kind of taking the fact, this guy over in here and then this guy over in here, and what this is still a higher swing low on the one-day time scale. So for this to be happening, obviously a very bullish thing, and saying very much to the fact that it could be going up towards this overbought territory again. Not to say that it's guaranteed, but certainly in this kind of position, although it's currently pointing down, the moment that this guy's starting to round up, I would say that it's in a pretty bullish situation in my opinion, and I would definitely be more inclined to be bullish down in here than I would to be bearish. This has been going in a downtrend for a while now, and the 1 day actually doesn't look too amazing. But if we start rolling this over to the 3-day and the 1 week, things start looking really good. Now over here we can see very clearly on the MACD, this has already started rounding downwards over here. I mean, it's very obvious that this area right in here is just starting to move to the upside. We have 1 attempt, 2 attempt, and then 3 attempt, all in this general area, not being able to break lower than one another, and then this guy's actually rounding towards the upside now. So this is telling me that really the bears are starting to get exhausted on these higher time scale moves, and it makes sense because Bitcoin's been in this downtrend over here for months. I mean, this started all the way back in like June, late June, early July, and now we're currently in the middle of October and it's still in this downtrend. So when I'm looking at this from the 3-day and the 1 week, I'm seeing that these bears are starting to get pretty exhausted, at least in my opinion. They're not being able to form they're not being able to form new significant lows on any kind of indicators or oscillators, and it looks as if they've potentially bottomed themselves out. Now, this doesn't mean that it can't go any lower. Obviously, despite this happening, the price has continually moved to a lower low while having a lower swing high. I mean, that's the whole point of this parallel channel that we're in on the price action of Bitcoin up here. But what I am seeing is that this is a potential bottoming area for Bitcoin. Now over here on the RSI, again, starting to be in this area where I'm starting to become more bullish than I am bearish. This guy, of course, when it's all the way back up here in June and July, extremely overbought. I mean, we're pushing 88 on a 3-day time scale. That's incredibly high. I mean, we've looked in the past what happens when it gets up to these levels. It's only natural that it retraces back down here. I am, however, starting to lean more into a bullish perspective because we're not necessarily in one of these long-term bear markets. When Bitcoin was back down in here, this is after it's already been bearish for like a year or so, like a year and a half, something like that. We haven't been bearish for a year and a half. I mean, we've been going up all year, and for the past 3-4 months, it has been going down, but it's still up nearly like 250% on the year, pushing 300%. So this isn't a horrible situation for Bitcoin, which is, again, leaning me towards this kind of bullish kind of this bullish perspective. Over here, I am looking at this MACD also starting to start rounding towards the upside. This is definitely starting to top out over here. You can see it starting to slow down, which would, in my opinion, would lead to a curve very soon. Now, the oscillators on the MACD over here are still pointing pretty much straight downwards, but I think it's one of those situations where it could definitely start moving back towards the upside. Over here on the 1 week, RSI, same sort of thing, could very well be time for a bounce. I mean, this has pretty much just been going straight down over here. No reason why it can't bounce off of. This is a pretty popular trend line for the RSI on the 1 week. Again, not to talk about it like it's a candle chart, but there are kind of areas where these things tends to bounce off of, and you really can't deny that. Generally gets rejected up here, and we see it bounce off here, bounce off here, bounce off here, bounce off here. I mean, it just has pretty typical areas. Again, right in here, right in here, right in here, all kind of similar ideas. So the idea that this could be a good area for it to bounce is not something that I'm saying is totally absurd, and something that I definitely think is very possible moving forward on Bitcoin. So moving back to the 4-hour chart, I do want to look at a little bit more of the candle formations, because we talked a lot about indicators and oscillators, which is something that we haven't done too much lately of, but I still think that, like, especially like this 3-day and this 1 week chart are going to play a pretty big significant factor in the price action of Bitcoin, along with this 4-hour chart as well, because it's still looking very good. Now, the biggest threat, if you are a bear, you're loving the fact that this impending death cross is coming its way on this one-day chart. I would say the one-day chart is probably the most bearish thing that Bitcoin has right now. The 4-hour, the 3-day, and the 1 week all really don't look that bad in my opinion. Yes, you have the rejections from these EMAs. Yes, you have the impending death cross, but I would argue that pretty much everything else doesn't look too bearish. Now, it's holding the heart line. It's actually held the heart line. While it did see rejection up here, it's going to be kind of one of those things where we're going to find out what happens pretty soon here. If this death cross does end up happening, maybe it's a fake out. Maybe that is what pushes it forward. The honest answer is that no one really knows. I, however, am still leaning bullish here. Now, I'm not leveraging longs or anything crazy like that. But I am inclined to believe that this is going to continue to move upwards just because of a lot of things. Again, volume started fading out. We've seen a lot of negative volume lately, and I think that this would very well make sense that this would be the bottom of this area. I mean, definitely a potential bottoming formation coming on Bitcoin. Now, anything can happen. This is just my 2 cents. This isn't legal, financial, or tax advice in any way. So just, take it as what it is. This is my opinion on this. And I think that there certainly is a lot of potential with Bitcoin being down in here. Now, if Bitcoin does break through and start falling very fast back into the 5K range, I'll start buying Bitcoin back up again. But I'm kind of just waiting to see what happens up here again. Definitely more bullish than bearish in this area. No kind of just crazy hard divergence, but this is one of those situations where, one, it's going to be kind of a little bit hard, to be honest, and two, this is where I'm going for some secret bullish divergence. I know people hate that term, secret bullish divergence or secret bearish divergence or bull trap, bear trap, whatever you want to call it. There's a million different names for it, but this is one of those situations where I think you can definitely argue that this is a bear trap or secret bullish divergence. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this. If you guys did, hit that like and subscribe button, and if you really enjoyed it, make sure to share it with a friend. It definitely does help out the channel a lot. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Are you guys still bullish or are you guys bearish on Bitcoin? And where do you guys think that it's going to go, either towards the up or the downside? So let me know that in the comment section below, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.